Gentlemen, good afternoon. Warm welcome from my side. I'm Xavier Picard from the SAP Cloud ALM product management team. I work mainly on APIs. So I know with my colleague Matthias Rapp, we are the man between the happy hour and you, but we'll do the best to save time for you for these happy hours. So, my friend Matthias Rapp is a SAP product manager at Tricentis, and together we'll show you how to extend SAP Cloud ALM with external systems. So, we'll start with the extension for an agile project management tool, and then we will demonstrate to you two extensions for the workflow management. So let's start. So first, I will start with a short introduction about the extension of SAP Cloud ALM with external systems, and then we'll deep dive into the two main topics, so the integration with agile project management and the integration with workflow management. So let's start with the extension of SAP Cloud ALM with external systems. So, as you can see on this slide, in the Application Lifecycle Management, there are tons of products, and the force, or why SAP Cloud ALM is so strong is because it's now an open platform, and we can integrate all the tools of the Application Lifecycle Management families with SAP Cloud ALM. So, as you can see here, we have all the different tools from collaboration tools, analytic solutions, task management, test management, change management, workflow management, so many types of tools. You can integrate all of these tools thanks to APIs. So we have inbound API and outbound APIs. And to help you to do this type of integrations, we provide content, predefined content to ease the integrations. So for instance, we have predefined contents to integration with Microsoft Teams, with Grafana for the analytics, with Tricentis, of course, for the test management, with SAP Build Process Automations for the workflow management, with ServiceNow for the ticketing systems. So how does it work? So we have a cockpit in SAP Cloud ALM. Its name is External API Management. It's an applications. And thanks to these applications, we are able to watch and react on SAP Cloud ALM events and to trigger action on external systems. So how does it work? In the External API Management application, we define subscription. So what is a subscription? It's a combination of SAP Cloud ALM event, an external system using a BTP destination, and what we call a mapping. So what is a mapping? It's a JSON file where we define the rules for the transformation of the payload created by SAP Cloud ALM, and we adjust it to the payload required by the external system. I would like to add to highlight a point. So with this external API management application, we provide to you freely incorporated in SAP Cloud ALM a way to communicate with external systems, but it's only for direct connection to external systems. If you think to have an integration with complex scenario where you need multiple systems in this scenario, you cannot use external API management. In this case, you will require a dedicated middleware like the SAP Integration Suite or any other third-party tool. So, regarding the integration, when you would like to communicate with external system, with external API management, we can react on several types of events. So right now, today, you can use monitoring events, task events, status events, requirements events, defects, and also workflow. So that means, for instance, for the task, when a task is created in the task management of SAP Cloud ALM, we can trigger an action on an external system like Jira, for instance, and we can create a task in Jira. So all of these events are available right now. As you can see in the slide, it was planned for Q3, the feature event. It's already delivered since the beginning of September. And what we plan for next year, it's an event for issues, test cases, operation automation, custom process diagram, and test executions. One more points, it's for the workflow. So today we have the workflow when we can trigger an action when we start or we cancel a workflow in SAP Cloud ALM. But for the workflow is working on a resource of SAP Cloud ALM. And for that, there are several resources which are available or which will be available in the future. So right now, only a workflow API is available for requirement. Very soon, so in the next quarter, we plan the features for the first quarter of 2025. And in the coming year, so in 2025, we will also release the workflow event for custom processes, test cases, and documents. So let's switch to the next step. So the integration with agile project management tool. So for this demo, we'll use Microsoft Azure DevOps. So how does it work, the integration? So in SAP Cloud ALM, we'll create an event, or we'll update an event or delete an event. So in our case, it will be a task creation. It will trigger an event in SAP Cloud ALM, which where the external API management application will handle it and transform the mapping of this event. And it will tailor it to the needs of the external applications. So in our case, it's Azure DevOps. The external application will do what it wants with these events. So in this case, it will create a task in the external system. And then, if we do actions in the external systems, thanks to the resource API, so the transactional API of we will be able to update back. If we do change in the external system, we'll be able to update back the task in SAP Cloud ALM. So here it's the demo scenario. So we will create a task in SAP Cloud ALM. It will trigger an event. It will be received by external API management application. We'll use the Azure DevOps transformation mapping. It will use the open API of Microsoft Azure DevOps. It will create the task in the Azure DevOps. Then I will modify the task in the Azure DevOps. And Azure DevOps will notify, not directly SAP Cloud ALM, because SAP Cloud ALM cannot understand the notification of Azure DevOps. We will have to put in place a middleware with SAP Integration Suite to modify the payload of Azure DevOps and update the task on SAP Cloud ALM. So let's go for the demonstration, the live demonstration. So I'm on SAP Cloud ALM. How does it work? If I go to the project and setup, I will be able to configure the notification of a new event for a specific project. So I select this project, and if I go to subscription, here, you see for the project task, here, I set up the task add ADO new notification. So that means when I create or update a task, a project task, it will notify these resources to the Azure DevOps. So I can directly jump in here to the external API management application, where I will show you quickly how it works directly in this cockpit. So here we jump in directly to the subscription. So as I said in the introduction, the subscription is where we combine an event. So here you can see the event. It's a resource type task. A destination, so it's a webhook. So it's a BTP destination to the external system. So in this case, it's ADO, Azure DevOps. And a mapping. So the mapping is a JSON file where we define we transform the payload from SAP Cloud ALM payload to the payload requested by the external systems. So I can jump to the mapping just to show you quickly how it looks like. So you see it's a JSON file. Oops, sorry. It's a JSON file where we define the name of the resource on the SAP Cloud ALM and the targeted name on the requested by the destination system. So for instance, here we can pass the system title, so it's the name requested by the Azure DevOps, and we will give him the title of the resource, which is in our case the task. So I think that's all for these details. Let's go to the demo. So if I go back to my menu, I will create a new task. Just before that, I can show in Azure DevOps, there is no task. If I refresh, as you can see here, there is no task. So if I create a new task on SAP Cloud ALM, so demo ALM Summit 2024. The same here. Demo. I can add scope, a work stream, for instance, integration. And I think that's all. And I can save it. So now it's saved, you see. And now if I go back to Azure DevOps, and if I refresh, here you see there is a demo ALM Summit 2024 task. Thank you, thank you. And in the description, we have the type of the task, so it's a project task, the project ID, the status on the original status, the description, the scope, the due date, and we have also a direct link to the task in SAP Cloud ALM. So if I click, I will jump in directly to the task on SAP Cloud ALM. So that's the way from SAP Cloud ALM to the external system. But now I would like to update also something here. So I will do a simple change. I will change the status to active. So active means in progress. And I save. And if I go back to my task, and if I refresh the browser, and you see now the status is in progress too in SAP Cloud ALM. So we have the complete integration on both sides. And I think that's all for this demonstration with Azure DevOps. Let's go back to the slides for the next integration. So it's an integration with workflow management. So it was released 2 or 3 months ago. So it's a way to approve a requirement. So that means when you create a requirement, you will be able to ask for someone else to approve or reject these requirements. So you can do it directly in SAP Cloud ALM, or you can use external tools like SAP Business Process Automation, or Tricentis Vera. So just a brief architecture graph. So how does it work? Again, we are in SAP Cloud ALM. We'll start the workflow. It will trigger a workflow event in the external API management application. Using the REST API, we will contact the external systems. On the external systems, some people will do some administrations, so they will receive the notification about this new approval workflow. They will be able to check the data, and then at the end of the process, they approve or they reject the workflow. And with these actions, using the transactional API, we will update the requirements on SAP Cloud ALM. So let's jump into the demo. So the first demonstration for this approval requirement is integration with SAP SAP Build Process Automation. So just a quick overview of how it is designed in SAP Build Process Automation. If it comes. Let me refresh. Yeah. Okay. So we are on SAP Build Process Automation. So here it's the design of the process. So first it's a trigger, so it's an entry point. So when we trigger the workflow on SAP Cloud ALM, the API will call this trigger, and we will pass, and it will receive some variables, as you can see here. So we pass to him the description, the ID of the requirement, a link to the requirement, the priority with the reviewer, the scope, the subject, and the timestamp. And then we send a mail to the processor and to notify him that there is an approval which is waiting. Then we have a form, and with this form we ask the approver if we would like to approve or to reject the requirement. And based on that, we will react differently and call the the task API, on SAP Cloud ALM to update the status with approve or reject status. And that's the end of the process. So if we go back to the SAP Cloud ALM in implementation, so again, we can go in project and setup, in the subscription, and here you can see for the requirements, we have two types of notification. One is a regular notification for events, like we had for the Azure DevOps. But here we have a new column, which is a workflow. So it's dedicated for workflow enablement, and we have a dedicated subscription. And this subscription, again, it's a combination of a resource type. Here it's workflow, a webhook, which is a BTP destination to the external system, and a mapping. Here it's a workflow to SAP BPA. Just to show you quickly, in the mapping list, as you can see here, we deliver some built-in mapping. So that means we give you already predefined content to do the integration. So then you just have to copy and adjust it to your needs. Integration with several products like ServiceNow, Microsoft Teams, Jira, SAP Business Process Automation, Azure DevOps. So if I go back to my SAP Cloud ALM, now I will create a new requirement for this specific project where the workflow is enabled. So if I create a new requirement, so new requirement for ALM Summit, demo, I can give some details like a scope, priority, it's very high because it's very urgent. And as you can see here, it's new. You see this blue box. We say that this task, if we change the status to ready for approval, it will start the workflow. So how do we see this blue box? It's because we have set up in the project setup the notification for the workflow. So now if I save, I can switch the approval first to ready for approval. And if I save, you will see the approval is requested. So that means we send the workflow event notification. And now, if I go to my inbox, yeah, you see I just received 1 second, 2 seconds ago, this email, requirement to be approved. And I have directly the jump into the SAP Build inbox, where I will find the forms where I can approve or reject my requirements. So here I can see the requirement names, the priority, it was requested by me, the scope, the question time, the description, and I have a link to jump in directly to SAP Cloud ALM if I want to double check the requirements itself. Okay? So let's say I would like to approve it. So now the form is gone because there is no more action to take here. And if I go back to my requirements and if I update it, you see now the status is green, so the requirement is approved. And that's all for this demonstration. And now I would like to hand over to my friend Matthias for the next demonstration.
Thank you very much, Xavier.
You're welcome.
And also a warm welcome from my end. Thanks for the opportunity to present together with you. So before I quickly jump into the next demo, I want to talk for just, I guess, 2-3 minutes about Tricentis Vera, just to set the context a little bit, why this approval API that Xavier has just shown us is so important. So, you know, in the regulated industry, basically what we need to do, and this is also something that might apply to non-regulated industries, we want to maybe have a stricter process on, you know, how a requirement is written, how it's defined. We want to define maybe people that are acting as reviewers before a requirement comes to implementation. And we want to have some rigor around that whole procedure. So this is where workflow comes into play, and Tricentis Vera happens to be one of these applications that allows managing this process and acts as an approval portal for multiple different roles that might have a need to review and approve different ALM entities. And this is particularly relevant for FDA 21 CFR Part 11 compliance with digital signatures and you know, concepts like 4I principle, multi-stage approval, 8I principle, and so on and so forth. What I'm going to show you in a second is very much in line with what Xavier has just shown you. So ultimately, you know, we want to probably cover such a workflow that's loosely indicated here, where you start with a requirement that you know, can be approved, just to make sure the content and the context of what you are, the change that you are going to develop is properly ticking all compliance boxes. But you may also want to do the very same thing later on with, let's say, test cases, and maybe later on with, let's say, test results. So a process where different ALM entities are subject to approval is essentially very likely and required in industries of the life science space. Today, however, based on what Xavier has just shown us, we will focus on requirements because this is what now is available. And with that quick introduction, I will switch over to SAP Cloud ALM and Vera and show you guys how that works in practice. So, so basically, you guys can see my screen, yes. So what we have here is SAP Cloud ALM, so very similar to what we've just seen. If I create a new requirement, and obviously this is the best requirement. And I want a Vera integration. Perfect description, doesn't leave anything unanswered. And if I save this, we now see that we have a new requirement, and either I toggle it right at that point in time when I save it, or I just toggle it here and start the process to route this for approval. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So you can see now that the approval is requested, very similar to what we have just seen by Xavier. There is in the background a webhook configured that ties into Vera, and now I switch into Vera. And what I have here now is I'm in a certain approval role, and I mentioned this earlier. Let me refresh here really quick. And of course that happened, so let's use this user. Good. And what we have now configured for this specific requirement is actually a 4i principle approval. So basically 2 people of the same role have to approve this requirement, and it cannot be the same person twice. So that's the rule that applies here. And then there is a second stage approval. That means a different person of a different role also has to approve this requirement. So this is something you would probably set up if you want a peer approval and then a supervisor approval, or maybe another party that needs to approve this. In my approval queue here, I can see that I have now my best requirement down here, and I see 2 entries. Why? Because I'm in a role where the 4i principle approval is configured. So that means this requirement requires 2 approvals, and they're both pending. It doesn't matter which one I pick. I'm only allowed to approve one of them with the role that I'm in right now. And I have to do this CFR Part 11 compliant, so I have to do this with my username and password with a nice e-signature. So that's what I just did. If I now log out, because I can't do the other one, and come in with the next user, I can do the second part of the 4i principle approval on the best requirement. So I'm going to do this as well, and you can see the other one is already approved with a time and date stamp. I can also approve this one. I would also see here the details of my requirement. I didn't talk about this yet, but I also see what I want and what the name is and all the relevant information. And then lastly, once I'm done with the 4i principle, I can also go in again and do the supervisory approval, or simply the different role here, which is what I'm going to do right now. So, and this is the last one, and this role here only has this one requirement in their queue. They did a good job, they approved everything else already, and everything else is done. So once I'm done with the 4i principle and the multi-stage approval, going back to SAP Cloud ALM and just refreshing, I will now also see that this requirement has shifted towards approved, and we are done with the approval workflow. All right. All right, so handing it back over to you, Xavier, to, I guess, wrap us up. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. Just a small advertisement for my colleague Lisa Sanders. She will drive a session on Friday about upcoming functionalities for customers in regulated environments. So if you can join these sessions, it will be. It's also linked with what we demonstrate today about the 4I's principle and approval workflow. So that's the end of this session. Do not hesitate to spread the word with ALM Summit on the social media. And now it's time for, please rate the sessions, and now it's time for questions and answers. Many questions, nice. She's coming.
Do we have the chance to give a comment, a text, in case of not approve of rejection? Is there a facility to exchange text.
You mean in between the external systems?
Yes, because I would say it's polite if you
yeah,
reject,
yeah,
say
sure.
why.
Here we just update the status, but you can with the update of the requirements, you can also add text for sure.
Where? In the external?
In the requirements directly.
So I would reject in the workflow system,
Yeah.
then I have to jump back to...
No. In the workflow system, you add the comments, and then these comments will be added to the requirements.
Okay.
But again, it's based on the way you implement it.
Okay, thank you. One question. In my company is very important ServiceNow. How is the integration with ALM of ServiceNow? So, for example, I can have a requirement in ServiceNow and fill up a document in ALM and then ask for approvals of people that it's on ServiceNow, or?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. So if you start the definition on ServiceNow, then if you update what you have done in ServiceNow in SAP Cloud ALM, and then if you would like to start the workflow in SAP Cloud ALM with another external system, it works because you can use inbound API or outbound API, so there is no restriction on that.
Thank you.
Again, SAP Cloud ALM is an open platform, so it works in all sense.
Hello, thank you for the session. First of all, it's very interesting for me. The integration topic is a very interesting topic also where I'm coming from, because we have several teams working with several tools. That's one of the points. My question is in the direction of when you were setting up the notification for the project task, it felt like there could only be one notification configured, and in the screen it was very specific ADO, like it's only for Azure. But let's imagine that I, as project manager, want to create within my project several project tasks, and some project tasks should be for Azure and some should be, for example, for Jira. Is this possible? Because it felt like it would only be possible to integrate with one external.
Within the same project today, it's not possible. But if you use multiple projects, it's possible because you can define one per project. But if you can use a customer influence program to put your request, and we already think about this. We have to.
Absolutely, that's one of the challenges.
It makes totally sense. So for sure, in the future, we will have to do it.
Okay, thank you.
But please use a customer influence
I'll
program.
try.
It will help to move the priorities.
During the demo, I was wondering where the processor of the workflow has been derived from. Is it a fixed list that is maintained in the workflow engine, or can it be based on information given from the requirement from Cloud ALM?
You mean the workflow status?
No, the approver who got the notification to approve the requirement. Where has it been derived from?
The content of the requirements? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
No. You set the requirement to be approved.
Yes.
Right? And then
yeah.
Somebody in the demo
Yeah.
got an item in his workflow inbox.
Yeah.
But where does the system know whom to address this approval process to?
Sorry, I get the question now. You define it. It's not my laptop. There are multiple possibilities. Either you know it's always the same person or the same team, you can use an email or a distribution list.
So then it's maintained in the...
It's maintained in SAP Cloud ALM. In the subscription, there is we have what we call the user variables, and we can define the names of the destination. So in this example, it was me, but you can define a DL or anybody else.
It was maintained in Cloud ALM?
Yeah, it was maintained in Cloud ALM.
In the payload?
In the subscription, yeah. Or you can put it also in the payload. In the mapping, you can add it in the mapping. It's also another possibility to do it. Or for Vera, there is many other possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. So for Tricentis Vera, it would be part of the workflow engine in that case, and we would use information that is in the requirement to trigger a certain routing that goes to a certain, approve a rule and approve a roles essentially. Yeah.
And then maybe one question that I asked myself, would it be possible in future maybe to also hand over to the workflow engine the assigned process elements? Because process elements have owners, and the owners might be the ones who want to give the approval.
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Is this already considered somehow in the roadmap?
No, actually, you can provide every content you have already in SAP Cloud ALM. Here, it's just an example I built. But if you would like to provide more data, you can provide more data if it's already in SAP Cloud ALM. There is no restriction on that. Here, it's just an example.
Maybe I need to get in contact with you directly.
Yeah, we can discuss this after this session. No problem. Other questions? No. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you.